Is butter a carb? With apple pie caramels, the answer is yes.
Let's spend time with Marco, but the food is the star, so it's probably worth sharing.
Hello, I'm Marco, and welcome to my home kitchen. Today I want to show you how to make apple pie caramels. They are so good, and you cannot keep them in the house because you will eat all of them. So give them to all of the kids and adults in your life because they are so wonderful. I'm using Smitten Kitchen's recipe as a base. I've been making it for years. It's super wonderful, but I wanted to make these taste like apple pie. So I'm browning the butter so it tastes like pie crust, and I'm adding in pie spices. These taste like everything wonderful about fall in one bite, and you're not going to be able to keep them in the house. The ingredients are pretty straightforward. The main flavor comes from apple cider. So you want to buy fresh pressed apple cider, not alcoholic apple cider, not sparkling apple cider, and not apple juice. Fresh apple cider. 1 stick of butter, 200 grams of white sugar, 110 grams of brown sugar, 80 milliliters of heavy cream. You want 18 to 35%. For pie spices, I'm using half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of dried ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and optionally you can add 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice. These are salted caramels, so there's also a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in the caramel itself, plus flaky salt on top. The first step is to brown the butter. You're going to put 1 stick of butter in a medium saucepan on medium heat and cook it gently for about 10 minutes. You're going to see a couple of visual changes here. After it melts, it will have this initial foaming stage. That's all the water evaporating. Next, you'll start seeing some brown spots form. Once that happens, you need to stir continuously the whole time so they don't burn. These are the milk sugars that are caramelizing, and it should start smelling really nutty and delicious in your house. Once it starts foaming for a second time, that means it's done. Take it off the heat and immediately put your spices in. This step is called blooming the spices. It's going to give the fat-soluble flavor compound superpowers. So it's just going to taste so much better if you put it into the butter than if you put it into the general mix later. The next step is to reduce the apple cider to 10% of what it is right now. So to do that, you need a heavy 3-quart pot. If you don't have one that's shaped like a pumpkin, you can use a normal one. Look on the back, it'll tell you how big it is. To reduce your apple cider, you're first going to bring it to a boil. Make sure that you have enough room in your saucepan so it doesn't boil over because it will foam. Once it gets to a rolling boil, lower the heat to medium so it stays on a gentle boil. You'll leave it here until it's reduced to a very syrupy, thick texture and there's only about half a cup of liquid left. It should just be coating the bottom of the pan. Reducing the apple cider takes about 40 minutes, so you could go to the store for a dead man's toe, break into a Halloween party and cast a spell on everyone through song. You could write an entry in your burn book about that cat, but I probably wouldn't suggest putting anything in your kiln or learning French. Either way, you've got 40 minutes. At this point, it's really thick, the bubbles are really clear and big, and when you move the spatula across the base, you can see a streak of the pan. You want to reduce the heat and really watch it because it can go from caramel to burned very quickly. Now grab all of your other ingredients and everything's going in the pot. So in goes the white sugar, the brown sugar, the 1/4 teaspoon of salt, the cream, and the brown butter and spices. This might have solidified to room temperature, or you might just need to give it a stir. Now you're going to stir everything back together and then bring it up to your candy temperature. It smells exactly like apple pie in here, and I can't wait to eat these. You'll see that it has these really thick, really big bubbles that are very slowly moving, and that's when you want to start checking your temperature. Depending on if you want a trick or a treat, you're going to stop the temperature at a different stage. So referencing my handy imaginary thermometer, at 230 Fahrenheit, you're going to get caramel sauce. At 240, you're going to get a very soft, melt in your mouth caramel that may not hold its shape. At 250, you get that perfect, soft, chewy caramel, like those classic vanilla caramels you get at Halloween. At 260, it's going to be firm and hold its shape when you bite it, kind of like a Tootsie Roll. And then at 270 or 280, you're getting more into the candy stage. So that's gonna be more like a Werther's Original, which nobody wants on Halloween. You choose what kind of candy you want. I'm targeting 250. You really have to watch the temperature and take it off the heat the second it reaches your target temperature. If you don't have a digital thermometer, you can grab a little bit of the caramel with a spoon and drop it into a bowl of ice water. It will immediately harden into its finished texture. So that is a great way to assess what your caramel is going to look like when it's finished. All right, so mine hit 250. I turned off the heat and I'm going to move it to a cooler spot of the stove. At this point, it is hot boiling lava that could even take out the Wicked Witch of the West. So let this cool for just a little bit before you move it into your loaf pan. If it starts firming up inside of your pot, just gently rewarm it until it's loose enough to pour. I'm probably gonna leave mine for like 15 minutes because I have to move all the cameras, so like it's totally fine. There's a couple pieces of special equipment you're gonna need: a 9x4 loaf pan or an 8x8 pan, parchment paper, and wax paper. Parchment paper is both heat-proof and non-stick because it is coated in silicone powder, so it's kind of like a disposable silpat. I'm going to cut this to fit inside of the loaf pan so that you can lift it out. It's really important to use parchment here and not wax paper because the heat of the caramel will melt the wax off and it'll become part of the candy. After the candies have cooled down, you're going to wrap them in wax paper. When you're buying wax paper for the candies, you have two choices. You can buy the brown one, which looks spooky, is compostable, and is covered in vegetable-based wax, or you can buy the white one, which is chemically bleached, not compostable, and coated with fossil fuel-based paraffin wax. So that one's certainly more scary, but I would look for the brown one. I want my caramels to be 1-inch cubes like those classic vanilla caramels, so I'm using a 9x4 loaf pan, but you could totally do this in an 8x8 pan. I've done it in a 9x13 pan. You'll just get thinner caramels. You're going to line this in two directions so there's nowhere for the caramel to escape. There is no escape. First, flip it over, roll out your sheet of parchment slightly larger, and then cut it. Now fold it at that edge and crease the parchment. You're going to do the same thing in the other direction, so cut a piece slightly larger than your loaf pan. Crease it on the right-hand side, and you'll see these are both the right size to go inside the pan. Place the larger piece in first. This is going to give you bigger handles to remove the caramel later. And then I like to fold the top, both because it keeps the paper out of the way and because it looks better on camera. Do the same with the narrow piece. If you're having trouble with it sitting flat in the corners, take it out and crease the corner. Now that your loaf pan is lined with parchment paper, you can pour in the caramel. You need the caramel to still be quite hot at this stage so you can pour it in, but you don't want it to be boiling lava hot. So pour the caramel in. If you have a helper, it's great to get them to help scrape out the caramel while you're pouring it out. I don't have anyone else here, so I'm just going to do this in a couple batches. Resist the temptation to scrape this with your finger like I almost just did because it will burn you. If at any point the caramel starts getting too thick and you can't pour it into your loaf pan easily, you can gently rewarm it on the stove on low heat just until it's pourable. Once it's been in the loaf pan for a minute or two, it will become firm but still very sticky. At this stage, you have the option to put on flaky sea salt, which I highly recommend. It turns these into flavor bombs. They won't be salty, they'll just be super flavored. The flaky salt also really contributes to the visual appeal because you get the little brown flecks from the brown butter, from the cooked apple cider, as well you get the sparkle from the flaky salt, and we all need a little bit of sparkle. This needs to fully cool before you can slice it. You can leave it at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours, but my preferred method is to put it in the fridge. I would not put it in the freezer because it's going to become rock hard and have a weird texture after you thaw it. To the fridge. While that cools, you can make the wrappers for the candies. You can go full arts and crafts on this as a kid's project, which would be super fun. Get out some stamps, get out some markers, and decorate the wrappers. I'm just going to show you a very basic version. I never thought there would be so much math in cooking, but there is. Because I'm cutting these into 1-inch cubes, I need my wrappers to be about 4 by 6 inches. So the way this is gonna work, my parchment is 12 inches wide, so I'm gonna cut it in half for the 6-inch piece, and then I have to do the math out to however many pieces of caramel I'm going to get. So if you have a handy bench scraper, it actually has a ruler in the back. So you can just go through and mark all this. I'm not being super precise with the cutting on purpose. 1, because cooking doesn't need to be fussy, and 2, you're not going to see it once it's all folded up anyway. If you do want to be very precise, you can get out a cutting mat and a ruler. So you can see how easy that is going to come out of the loaf pan. It's just so visually beautiful. The flaky salt is sparkling, the brown butter is adding some depth to the look. It just looks awesome. To cut this, you can use a knife or a metal bench scraper. I found the bench scraper is a little bit easier because it's quite a bit thinner. A lot of candy recipes will say to rub your knife in a neutral oil so that it doesn't stick, but there's already butter in the recipe. So I'm going to rub this with butter. I used a 9x4 loaf pan. So to cut this into 1-inch cubes, I'm going to cut into 4 rows and then 9 columns. First, I'm going to cut in half. As you cut your pieces, I would start separating them because they will glue back together. And then cut those in half again. Then cut each of these strips into 1-inch pieces. I'm going to eyeball it. To keep them a consistent size, I'm just using the previous candy as my reference point. And continue doing that for the rest of the strips. If you end up with any small pieces, these are snacks. It's so good. They taste like childhood. Now you have a choice whether you want to engage some tiny humans to help you wrap these, in which case they're probably going to eat half of them as they're wrapping them, or you can do it all yourself and hide them in the cupboard. To wrap them, grab a piece of wax paper, place a caramel in the center, fold the wax paper over the caramel, give the side 2 twists, and then flatten it out so it gets that standard candy shape. And that's the first caramel. 45 more to go. If, like me, you meant to make them cubes and you cut them into all sorts of different shapes and sizes, you can just squish them into a cube and no one will know. This is the kind of thing where you can make a double or triple batch, put on Hocus Pocus, and just spend a really lovely Saturday afternoon wrapping candies. I feel like Mean Girls is also a Halloween movie because there's a Halloween party, there's an event on October 3rd, and you're surrounded by witches. You can see once the candy's wrapped, the shape of the wax paper doesn't really matter. So if you rip it, if it's uneven, no one's gonna know. This is a weird tip, but if you have too much wax paper, you can actually use these little cut pieces to polish your handle in the shower, and it's gonna stop it from getting dirty for like 2 weeks. Sugar is a natural preservative, so allegedly these will last several weeks or months at room temperature. I don't think these will last in anyone's house for more than a week. A couple of days at best. How do they taste? These are incredible. It is like a perfect bite of apple pie, but what I love most is the texture. I think hitting that temperature around 250 Fahrenheit gives you the perfect texture. You can bite through it, but it's still soft. It's more gonna melt in your mouth instead of stick in your teeth. I need to find someone to give these to because otherwise I will eat this whole bowl. They are so good. Please give these to all of the people in your life who you know, but please don't give homemade candy to strangers. If you enjoyed this video, please like and please subscribe. I've got seasonal recipes coming out every week, and I will see you in the next video.
It's probably worth sharing.
I want to eat all of you.